variation of the question of how large is the scope of CUP review. And the sort of bottom line question is, if the CUP were turned down, would that have any effect beyond reducing the size of buildings to 5,000 square feet? Is there a legal effect of denying the CUP that is more expensive than reducing the size of the project down to the trigger point? And then the site review standards, what are they? Do they simply duplicate the CUP standards, or are there other issues that arise under the site plan review standards? Is it more than a pro forma just review of whether all the buildings meet sort of the dimensional standards, or is there something more substantive than that? What are the scope of the site plan review, and how does it relate to conditional use permit review? And then I guess returning to the economic realm again, you talked about whether there's some sort of economic impact statement as a requirement for this project. There's the SEPA question about urban blight and what the standards are for that kind of review. There are all sorts of talk about strip development and pedestrian-friendly development. Those seem to be concepts that are underlying the discussion. So do they have any specific legal content or not? If so, what should go into them? So those are kind of the notes that I made throughout the process on just what the interesting legal questions might be there. Any questions or comments on any of that?
I just had a question. So the site review standards, do they duplicate or present other issues, and then the EIS requirements? Anything in between them, Mr. Examiner? CC West look at the site review standards to see if they just duplicate the CUP or have other criteria.
Right. Do they require anything different?
Yeah, right. I got that.
Yeah.
And then they want the EIS and urban blight standards. Anything in between those two?
No, I think I jumped from one to the other.
That's all I have. I guess we have a
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. I think you did cover the salient issues of the hearing. There was one question about in the pre-hearing conference, and that was a question about deference over the city. I don't know if that's still live or not.
I think we talked that one through to the point where there was a code provision that made it sound like the planning director was going to make some sort of initial decision, and that which would place the CUP and site plan more of an appeal mode. And I think we agreed that that's not what we're actually doing here, that this is a first impression decision here. And I think that only really matters maybe to some extent on the discussion of burden of proof. If we were in an appellate mode, there might be a different burden of proof. So I think basically what we've done is put the burden of proof on the CUP and the site plan on the applicant. I think that's the bottom line there.
I agree with that. We have to prove there is some case law that talks about deference to interpretation of zoning codes, even in the context where the examiner makes the final decision. I'll provide that case law to you for your consideration, but that doesn't change the burden of proof.
spending time with me knows that deference on legal interpretation is probably something that I will balk at.
I spent enough time here.
I think it was a good short part of the brief.
And frankly, the consolidated site permit section of the code is probably one of the clear, concise sections. Said, put it all together and go into this process.
I'll be surprised at that if I didn't comment.
First place, planners aren't lawyers, and there's no real requirement that hearing examiners be lawyers, but the current trend is in that direction. So I think, the rationale is that probably legal interpretations are part of the hearing process primarily.
I'll think it through.
I think the only comment I have on it is that, of course, SEPA provides deference for the decision of the responsible official. And there's been some discussion in this proceeding as to whether the decision as to whether the project has a probable significant adverse environmental impact is a legal question or whether, it has some other connotation. In the context of SEPA, that determination of whether or not there is a probable significant adverse environmental impact with the mitigation is the essence of the MDNS decision and is entitled to deference, at least.
It's entitled to substantial weight, as I recall.
It's entitled to substantial weight, and my understanding is that translates into a clearly erroneous standard, which I'll provide some review.
Well, one of the interesting questions there is when I think that's true when you're dealing with the bright line between a DNS and a DS. I've usually taken the position that the examiner can modify an MDNS condition without